Okay, that was a very short minute, but we're going to get started. Welcome. I am Danny, the program manager, and this is my colleague Philip. He is the program director. Just a little tiny bit about me. I came to Big Ideas about a year and a half ago, and before that, I had about a decade of experience working in the nonprofit, private sector, as well as for many different startups. I helped establish one called LendUp, which is a fintech startup. It's doing very well and has a great social mission. And I also worked for some UN agencies because I thought, why not go in the opposite direction? So now, really quickly, I'm just going to go over the agenda, which I need to make sure is visible. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Big Ideas with a quick overview video. Then we're going to hear from one of our previous Big Ideas winners. And then I'm going to get into some of the key rules, dates to remember, and application requirements. How are we doing so far? Yes. So we're going to start with a quick video. Oh, but we need to plug in the sound.
Hey there, got a sec? We've got some problems over here. Disease, displacement, poverty, climate change, hunger. Problems that need new eyes. Your eyes. We know, you're busy. Class, term papers, research, work. There's a lot going on, but you're not just a student. You're a visionary, an entrepreneur, a designer, an innovator, a connector, a builder. We know you've got what it takes. Energy, truth, insights, imagination, and ideas. And your idea, it's there, and it's nagging you, isn't it? Listen, if you can dream it, you can create, launch, fund, and scale it. At Big Ideas, more than 6,000 students have launched over 450 innovations in 50 countries. So you bring an idea, and we'll bring the structure, mentorship, networks, funding, and validation to get you going. No idea is too small. Let's figure this out together. What's your big idea?
Okay, so in a nutshell, Big Ideas is a two-round contest, and it's a student innovation contest that provides funding, mentorship, and recognition to both graduate and undergraduate student teams to develop creative solutions to problems. It's not just a contest, it's actually a two-round program with resources that can help any early-stage innovator. But let's actually hear from a previous Big Ideas winner. This is Matt Turlock coming live to the stage. He was the 2019 winner of Kaloum Bankhi, and if you don't mind coming up to the mic, you can explain what that is.
Great, thank you very much, Danny. All right, I'm Matt Turlock, and I had a really positive Big Ideas experience. Big Ideas is a fantastic program. It doesn't create the ideas for you. It nurtures your original thought and helps you find a way to realize it. I originally heard about the program probably 3 years ago when I started at Cal in an email. I thought, oh, this is great, except I don't really have a thought or idea. Too close. Thank you. I didn't really think I had a thought that would revolutionize technology or help a lot of people. And I would say now, if you're in that zone, That's okay. Even like the hint of an idea is all you need, and then big ideas will help that grow. So today I'd like to give 3 points that I think are important following my big ideas progression through Kaloum Bankhi, which is the project I worked on, and I'll tell you about that too. I've forced these 3 points into a fairly clunky tree metaphor, and I couldn't think of a better metaphor, so please bear with me. The 3 points being roots, growth, and flourish. So point 1 is the roots. Start with what you know, your friend group, and your area of study. To tell you about myself, I'm from Canada, so I was actually an international student. I worked in Canada as an engineer and a project manager before I came to Berkeley to study architecture. And it was in architecture school that I met my good friend Abubakar Kamara. We worked together in my first year of architecture on the solar decathlon competition, which was a competition to build a sustainable home. So that said, we knew a little bit about houses and construction, but we didn't have much else beyond that. However, Abubakar has a lot of passion and was able to pull on where he came from. So Abubakar grew up in Guinea in Africa and was very passionate about bringing housing and shelter to the people of Kaloum in Guinea. Kaloum is a slum community where there are not enough beds for the amount of people that need to sleep, such that people have to take sleeping shifts in order to get a bed. So parents would sleep at night and the kids would sleep during the day. There just wasn't enough space. And Abubakar had a passion and an idea. He wanted to change this. So a year ago, after he graduated, he went back to Kaloum and he built a prototype house. And it was modeled after the shotgun style of house, which is a series of rooms that are connected such that they form one long hallway, but you don't lose space in a building because you have this hallway. We added African furnishings and flexible furniture that we pulled down from the walls or moved around such that we created a lot of sleeping spaces. So the idea was we could sleep everyone and still have a nice gathering area. So Abubakar came back to me. He had heard about big ideas and he had that thought. I was like, Matt, I'm putting a team together. Do you want to help me out? I'm like, yes, I want to help you out. And so it's the two of us and we put together our initial pitch. So I think Danny will talk about the timeline in a little bit. There's a couple rounds. Round 1 was a 4-page or so report. That might have changed, so don't quote me. Initial report on your initial thought, and we said we're going to take money from big ideas and we're going to build a house. It was very simple, and an idea that we worked on and iterated further. So that's our roots. Kaloum Bankhi, the name of the project, means a home for Kaloum. We wanted to provide homes for these people. Point 2, growth. So we had to fill our empty spots and use the resources available to us. So we immediately expanded our network. We added 2 members to our team, Carmen Durer, who studied economics, and Matt Ferris, who studied city planning. We knew we needed a financial element, and we wanted to grow our house beyond a single unit or a single home, but to a community level. We also surveyed the community. So fortunately, Abubakar was already in Guinea, and we had a number of volunteers join our team from the university there to survey the community of Kaloum. And we found out that indeed there were many households who needed durable housing and had a lack of sufficient space for living. And so we identified this as a need that we somehow needed to meet. And we realized that building one home was not enough. We needed to come up with a system to support more homes. And I'm incredibly grateful for Big Ideas for the mentorship program that they have and offer in that second round. I got an email, and it's like, fill out this email, and we'll try and pair you with a mentor. And so I was very specific. I said, I need someone who's an expert in affordable housing development and financial systems in Africa. And I thought that was a lot to ask for, but I might as well put it down. And I was incredibly surprised, but we were paired with an expert, Jason Moses, who works out of Africa and Europe, developing affordable housing at a local level. And it was amazing. And he helped us turn our initial idea into a 3-part innovation that we could really work with. So we turned Kaloum Bankhi from the idea of building a single house into a 3-part physical, financial, and socioeconomic innovation. We said physically, instead of building one big house, how could we phase it? So we broke the house down into 7 different parts, looking like a foundation and structure, different living spaces and entryway, some value add-ons like solar power and flexible furniture. So instead of building this one house, we could build one phase at a time, such that we could immediately start construction and people could start seeing change immediately. That was paired with a staged financial model where the homes will put up half of the cost of a phase, so that's a few hundred American dollars, and the other half will be matched by the Big Ideas Fund if we won the Big Ideas. And that was great because then suddenly we had an affordable and realistic goal and we could start building right away. And with that new model, we were able to start, or we have planned to start, 14 phases of construction this January. And lastly, we wanted to leverage existing socioeconomic and cultural mechanisms already in place in the community. We really wanted the community to be engaged and interested in our project. And so we use existing saving systems in the community and existing leadership through the chiefs and the different neighborhoods. So we had grown a little bit. I wanted to say there's a lot of info sessions throughout the rounds that are great. You can come get pizza or different food. And if you're me and you're a little too lazy, you can stay in your office and you can call in online, which is great because you can put it on the background. I attended one session on building a narrative, and that was very important to us. We said that architecture is here art, capable of bringing about social change, and we were in the art and social change category. So we really hit those buzzwords. Which brings me to my third and final point, to flourish. So we're going to expand and research beyond the competition. You want to build momentum, I think, beyond the confines of the one-year competition, and think about how the idea can grow past that. There's lots of resources in the end of the final round. You can meet with Danny and Philip and talk about your report and improve it, cut out what's not necessary, and add elements that you need. So again, I'll stress that narrative. And we were very lucky. So we worked hard, but we won the art and social change category, which gave us $10,000 to put towards our big idea. So we've already constructed a second prototype in Guinea out of 100% recycled materials. And we got our costs down a little bit, and we're going to keep iterating on this model to start the construction of 14 phases this January. This week, Abubakar is meeting with the community, and we're selecting households that we want to work with for those 14 phases. So things are going great, and we're very happy about it. We also became an NGO recently, so very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So to recap, look at your roots, what you know and who you are. It's a good source for your starting idea. Grow, fill the gaps with your friends and your professional network. Figure out who you need to know. How do you fill those gaps? And then flourish, research, and grow beyond the confines of the competition. Thank you very much for having me. The Big Ideas competition was extremely formative for me, and I hope that you have the same experience. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so do any of you have any questions that you want to ask Matt, either about Big Ideas, what he's up to, Kaloum Bankhi? This is a great opportunity to hear from a Big Ideas alumni. Okay, I'm going to start with her, and then I will come down to you.
This was really nice. Thank you so much. I wanted to follow up on the bit where you said you were looking at a financial solution also. Could you talk a bit about what was the financing and how you're looking at it going forward?
For sure. I talked about it a little bit, like the initial problem that we had, which was we can't just pay for the house and be done because then we don't create a cycle that we can repeat. So with the phase system, we have 7 parts to the house. The community brings us the first 50%, so a household would save $200 or something to build a foundation. We would match that $200 with another $200 from Big Ideas, and we could start that construction within 6 months of the savings happening. And then the household would later pay back the other 50%, such that that returns to our pool of money, and we can reinvest that in the further construction of another phase. One important thing we're doing is also working on new partnerships and new sources of funding. As part of the second prototype we built, we partnered with a hotel near the Kaloum neighborhood that helped fund that second prototype. And so having that income coming in helps pay for our operations costs as well. Thank you.
Second question.
What was your experience working with like local government permitting regulation, like that kind of aspect, to take something that's like a prototype or an idea to the implementation?
That's a really great question. I will say I'm very, very grateful to be friends with Abubakar. So he's from Guinea and a Guinean native, and knows the existing culture. I think it would be a terrible idea to go into a culture you don't know and then try and bring an idea there. So having that roots and getting to know the people is very important. There was a lot of land ownership issues where people don't really know if they own the land or not, but they've always lived there. And we wanted to make sure we don't displace people when we're bringing in these new houses. So part of the phasing was the idea that construction could be immediate, it could be modular, we could go in and help people build the next phase in a couple days, so we don't have to displace people. But I would say first and foremost, like paramount, get to know the culture.
Question in the back.
My question is like kind of going off on what she said, but you said you wanted to leverage existing leadership roles already in the society, and you communicated with the chiefs. So what did that communication look like, and what did it entail?
That's great. So we have two parts or two key areas of communication. So Abubakar is actually meeting with the chiefs this week, but we've also met with the mayor in town to talk about our idea. And Big Ideas was important for us in that it gave us some starting money to build momentum. We built a prototype, we showed that it worked. And showing people that it would work and not just telling them, I think was very important. And then having them invested in the concept. So we've also launched a research period where we're working with the community to learn more about vernacular construction systems. What expertise do they have that can help us build this modular system faster or more efficiently? Doing the community survey was also very important. So we went around and we surveyed 20 different households asking about their income. Were they able to afford such a phased development, and what their needs were, and figuring out if they were good candidates for the household. Just kicking off the project, we wanted to make sure we identified households that had a great need, but also that could afford the initial phasing. So gathering data and the research part also very important to developing the pitch, especially round two.
Okay, we have two more questions.
I'm curious what the average income turned out to be and how much the cost of the house was, 50%, and then in other words, how much was it total?
I'm forgetting the immediate average income, but in American dollars, very low. We're thinking, I think, between $50 and $100 per month for a household. And our average phase cost around 300 American dollars, such that it was possible for the houses we selected to save up half of the phase cost within a 6-month period. And again, the phasing is very helpful because we could start construction right away instead of trying to expect people to save for 7 years before building a house. So low income certainly, but it's also more affordable or easier to build in Kaloum.
Thank you.
And then one last question on the end.
I was wondering, how did you go about finding the remaining members of the teams? Did you step back and identify the fields that you were missing information and then sourced out the people, or was it within the pool of the people who are already interested in big ideas?
That's a really good question. I'll say I was very lucky. So Abubakar and I were already friends, architects. Matt, there's another Matt on our team who I had worked with about a year previous on a city planning project. And so I knew I wanted to think about neighborhoods and that kind of growth. And then I had an empty spot on our submission, said person who knows about money, like finance or economics. And I just looked at my network of people that I knew, and I had known Carmen, who we added to the team, through a friend. And so I was able to find Carmen and asked her to join the project. That said, it can be very difficult. So I think, I don't know, maybe there are resources here to put people together. Yes, there are. I'm getting a confirmation.
I mean, you're looking at potentially your future teammates right here, so this is an opportunity for you to switch ideas. And we have another upcoming event that particularly focuses on team formation called Innovators at Cal. So, yeah.
I've had some luck with other projects, just reaching out to departments and then getting them to send like a wide email if you're looking for someone. But.
Well,
thank you so much, Matt. If you want to connect with him afterwards. You're far too modest. I saw you at plenty Big Ideas events. You came to plenty of advising sessions, and the hard work paid off. So thank you so much for coming back and talking to us.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully, I think we have like a few people that might want to talk with you in the back. If you guys have any like particular questions.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Thanks a lot. Okay, moving on. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of Big Ideas. So, what do we offer students? What can you get out of Big Ideas? So, the first thing is funding. Each year, we offer up to $300,000 in prizes to students' projects, and each team can win up to $20,000 for their full proposal. And there's also additional opportunities for other prizes, including our grand prize pitch day, which happens at the end of the year. In addition, we have skills development. So we meet students where they are, and we provide them with the resources to set them up for success to scale their project. This comes in the form of hosting writing workshops, we have advising hours, and we also try to set you up with some of the things that Matt talked about during his project, like creating a budget, an implementation timeline, and really to help set the motion in place for your project to scale outside of the classroom. I really want to highlight the mentorship and networks portion. Matt touched on it beautifully, but we also have events like Innovators at Cal and our industry advising clinics where we focus on early team formation. And in the second stage of the contest, we pair teams up with mentors so that they can start to build their career network. And so through building these mentor relationships, you can start building key contacts that you can have for your career. And we also have a huge network of over 300 judges, 6,000 projects have come through Big Ideas. So that all adds up to a really huge professional network. We can connect you to the industries, the experts, and potential partnerships to tailor your big idea. We have also joined forces with Acumen Foundation, which has a global social entrepreneur network. Is anyone familiar with Acumen? You can just raise your hand. Great, I will get into that in a sec. And then the exposure and recognition. So as an early stage pipeline program situated at Berkeley, it is also a UC-wide competition. So we have brand recognition across all the eligible campuses, and we also help students leverage additional opportunities. And so this brand recognition gives you the ability to be a student, but have that veritas, that ability to really stand out amongst the others. And in addition, we host year-end events like Grand Prize Pitch Day and the Awards Celebration, where we invite our broader network, potential funders, judges and mentors, and teams really say that this is probably the most valuable resource because it doesn't stop when the Big Ideas contest ends. It actually helps set you guys up for a sustainable future. Moving on, I did mention Acumen. So Big Ideas is one of the 4 university social innovation competitions selected to be part of the Rockefeller Foundation Acumen Student Social Innovation Challenge. Say that 5 times fast. Now, the key thing I want to highlight is the Student Resource Library. For those of you that have your computer, if you see the link on the screen, I recommend signing up now. This is a specific link that's only accessible through Big Ideas, so you can actually enroll in some of their courses, videos, workshops. So like I said, if you can sign up on the link on the screen, it's also the link to this is on our website. So if you can't do it now, you have an opportunity to go to bigideascontest.org later. Some of the examples of the resources that Acumen has is what is social entrepreneurship? They have videos like how to prototype your idea. They have online workshops like how to build a sustainable business model. And in addition, the Big Ideas team will work with you guys to create additional networking, team building, and acceleration opportunities with Acumen. So you can stay tuned for that. But what I really love about this student resource library is that they're all accessible at your fingertips, so you can go at your own pace, and there's no deadline for when the materials expire. Eligibility. So the key things I just want to highlight is that to be eligible, this must be a student-led project. Some students have said, oh, you know, I have a professor that's working as an advisor on my project. That's great, and we welcome that, but it just can't be an extension of the professor's research. Like I said, student-led. Also, early stage. So some people say, what does that actually mean? Typical big ideas projects are usually have been in operation for 2 years or less, and that is kind of the vague criteria we use. However, if you are interested in the funding, resources that Big Ideas has to offer, we're not going to turn you away. And social impact. So this is key, and I think it also sets us apart from other business competitions at different universities. Projects have to have a clear social impact focus. So are there any questions about this? If so, please come and talk to us. I said social impact once, so I'm going to say it again. We have social impact tracks. Now, what are they? Based on the scope of your project, teams can self-indicate a primary social impact track that best fits their project, but you do have the ability to select additional related tracks. Now, applicants can submit more than one application, but each submission must be unique. And then also, students may participate on multiple teams, but each team must submit a unique proposal. Now, any Big Ideas team should consult with us if this does not make sense, but I just wanted to make sure. Are there any questions around what I just said? Wow, you guys are just fully grasping the content, loving it. So we have workforce development, global health, food and agriculture, financial inclusion, energy and resources, education and literacy, city and communities, art and social change. And if your project idea doesn't fit into any of those social impact tracks, come talk to us. We can still make something work. Okay, I'm going to go over the timeline. So as I mentioned, we are a 2-round full-year competition, and the pre-proposal round is in the fall. The full proposal round is in the spring. The pre-proposal round ends with submitting a 3-page pre-proposal, and the full proposal round ends with submitting a 8-page proposal. For the purpose of this contest, I'm going to focus more on the pre-proposal stage. So what I'd like to do is really highlight the events and resources that we have to you. Now, you guys are at the first information session, which can also be used as a team-forming event. You guys can use this space to start networking. Our second information session on the 25th will also have a different Big Ideas winner, Daryl Dipty, who is one of the project leads for Sonic Eyewear Project, talk about his experience. And so if his background interests you as well, please come again. But in addition to that, I want to highlight innovators at Cal. So some of you guys mentioned wanting to know about the different innovation and entrepreneurial resources on campus. This is an opportunity for not only teams to learn about those programs, but for also you have the ability to pitch your idea, network with students that either want to leverage their skills to join your project, or maybe you want to leverage your skills to join somebody's pitch that you heard at Innovators in Cal. We host it in Banatow Auditorium, which is just outside and across the way in Siddharjadai Hall. And then we have the networking reception in here. In addition, we also have some writing workshops. So I've mentioned this 3-page pre-proposal. And we focus them on 2 themes where judges have highlighted these being opportunities for students to work on. So these themes have been the landscape analysis, where you look at your different competitors, potential partners. We really dive into the nuts and bolts of what that means. And we have an activity where you can start actually building a landscape analysis. That will be on October 23rd. The second one that Matt actually mentioned earlier was the storytelling for innovation workshop, which will be on November 5th. And that will focus on how to kind of fine-tune your pitch, find your voice within your proposal, and also find ways to communicate your innovation clearly and concisely. And last but definitely not least is the pre-proposal deadline. So that is the absolute requirement. It is an online application that takes about 20 minutes to fill out, and within that application, you upload your 3-page proposal. So nothing to it, right? No. Oh, actually, let me quickly mention, at the bottom, we have advising. So some of you look a little bit familiar. You've signed up for advising, but please note that both myself and Philip, we are available for one-on-one advising. You can sign up online, and we can do advising in person, also through Skype, Zoom, GChat, pick your poison. We want to be available to you, so please take advantage of that. And then I'm just going to talk about the second stage briefly. The thing I really want to pinpoint is after you submit your 3-page proposal, when we announce the finalists, no matter whether you make it to the second round or not, everyone gets feedback on their proposal. So you will have at least 5, 10, 15 qualitative reviewers looking at your proposal, proposing new ways that you can improve on it, how you can actually identify key networks. And I think that a lot of big ideas applicants and winners have said this is a really, really valuable resource. There's not going to be a lot of opportunities in life where you have somebody devoting a lot of time with the focus on trying to help you make your innovation plausible, feasible, scalable. So I would really highly recommend that if anyone is interested in big ideas, apply, because you will get some really great feedback from our network of reviewers that are just interested in helping you guys grow your innovations, which is awesome. But we also have our mentorship stage, which is about 8 weeks, where we pair finalists up with mentors, and they say, how do you do that? Well, we give you a questionnaire, and then we try and find a mentor that fits what you guys are looking for. And as Matt mentioned, he had a pretty tall order, but if you guys are specific about your ask, like I mentioned before, we have a big network, so more often than not, we can accommodate that. And just to kind of give you a scope of last year's statistics, we had about 340 people apply, so that's 340 project innovations. About 50 made it to the final round, and then there were about 35 that won some type of financial award. So that's anywhere from an honorable mention up to first place. Any questions? Any questions online? Great, I will move right along. The pre-proposal elements. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over these, but please note that the writing workshops that we're hosting in October and November will go more in depth. And, thank you. Our writing workshops will go more in depth about how to really fine-tune your pre-proposal. In addition, you can use the advising sessions to show us your proposal, and both Philip and I have seen hundreds and hundreds of proposals, so we're willing to give you kind of objective advice on how to make your proposal stand out from the others. Now, the format is flexible, but I would say no matter how you structure your pre-proposal, it should include these elements somewhere in there, because this is also based on the judging criteria. So the first part is the problem statement. What problem are you trying to solve? And using statistics, research, evidence to say that this is actually a problem that needs to be addressed. The landscape analysis, so looking at what existing solutions are already out there. We're going to have a writing workshop on this, but not all competitors are bad. Some of them can be potential partners, so we kind of help you, we help you identify who those competitors, potential partners, and potential collaborators are. Your proposed innovation. This is a summary of your idea, how it works, and its intended impact. And I just want to highlight that when we come to the review stage, above all, reviewers are basically judging how innovative and creative the project idea is. But this doesn't mean that it has to be really tech-heavy. Big Ideas is agnostic to the type of innovation, project, program, and we recognize that big ideas come in all shapes and sizes, so we're not going to limit you. You're the experts, so you tell us why your innovation is worth supporting. Last but not least is the team bios. So there is no limit on team size. Big ideas come in all shapes and sizes, so do teams. But this is a place where you can actually highlight the capacities of the team members and how their skills, both soft skills and hard skills, like academic, CV, how they will attribute to the project. So how they will help strengthen your project. Yes, there is a question. Just hold on a sec.
I was just curious, are we allowed to have team members that are not in Berkeley?
Very good question, and the answer is yes. So the only requirement is that the team lead be a full-time student at either Berkeley or any of the other eligible campuses, but by all means, the rest of your team members can be a mix of students from other schools or regular old people like me or professors. We are agnostic to how the rest of your team looks as long as the team lead is a full-time student, undergrad or graduate. And now we're gonna get to the review criteria. So awesome. The biggest thing, as I mentioned before, is innovation. So we define innovation in a few different ways. One, you are proposing a new idea, method, invention, or product. Two, you're creating a better or more effective product, process, service, or technology, or idea. Or three, you're improving on or tailoring an existing innovation in a new context. So that could be in a new place or in a new way that hasn't been done before. So that's pretty open-ended. The second one is social impact. So your project is actually addressing a social challenge that exists in the world, and the proposal provides adequate evidence that your solution will address that social challenge. Is there any questions around innovation, social impact? Yes.
How long-term or permanent should the impact be? Like, there's building a house, which is a permanent solution, but what about like temporary solutions that can go on for like maybe like a year that would help a community, but require persistence after the program ends?
That is a great question. I believe that is an opportunity for you kind of to talk about how the impact could potentially be lasting, but the project doesn't necessarily have to be. So in some cases, people have had projects that was like a course or a curriculum, so that obviously had a set start and end time, but the result was a huge advocacy campaign that came out of that, so heightened awareness, and that was very adequately expressed in the proposal. So as long as you make a case that you're going to be making some type of social impact, that is going to be the strongest argument that you can make. I would say that the reviewers are going to take into account many different things, but if you are able to just make the case that this is an impact that is very important and needed to have, then by all means, it doesn't need to have a timeline.
Another way to sort of phrase that is judges are instructed to look at both the depth and the breadth of the impact. So some innovations have a very long, sustained impact. Some are shorter and have a very deep impact in a particular community. So judges look at both and weigh both equally.
Yes. And that also segues into the long-term viability. So just showing that when I say long-term viability, it just means that you're able to demonstrate that the team members and your background make compelling evidence for the ability to implement your proposal. Matt in the beginning kind of talked about how him and his team members' expertise really made the proposal strong, but also note that teams are required to only consider the first year of implementation. So beyond that, you will not be judged on 2, 3, 5 years from now. If you really fine-tune that first year of implementation, that's what we're looking at.
And I just want to emphasize something about this review criteria, because this is the pre-proposal review criteria specifically. And the methodology of Big Ideas is that we want to get the most innovative, cutting-edge, creative ideas that students have out there into the ether. And then we want to work with the most creative in the second round and help them become long-term sustainable social ventures. So in the second round, this sort of flips on its head, where the focus much more of the judges in the next round focuses on that long-term viability question. So that's why innovation is up front in this round, in the pre-proposal round, and then we flip to viability in the second round and push you there.
Good point. And last but certainly not least is proposal quality. So hopefully I don't have to harp on this too much, but just making sure that the proposal is professionally written and also it is clear to understand. So when I offered before to look at any proposals, we can kind of look at them from a generalist perspective, and it's always good practice in this competition and beyond to write for a generalist audience. If you start writing too technically, then you might be losing the reviewer. So use us as kind of a objective viewpoint, and also make sure to proofread, make sure there's no typos, because we wouldn't want that to work against you. And reviewers have actually cited, when they do see glaring typos and they do see kind of issues with the text that can be easily avoided with a proofread, it tends to drag down the quality. So we wouldn't want you guys to lose anything from that. Let's see. Are there any questions? We do have some questions.
So let's say one of the team members is working for like a nonprofit organization who is like me, that is like currently like working on a big project that can be like qualified for the big ideas. So is it possible, like, if that group propose the project from that nonprofit organization?
So what my understanding is that the nonprofit, it has the project. So I'm going to say if that is not, a nonprofit is not necessarily student-led, so I wouldn't say that really fits in the criteria. However, if you have been working with a nonprofit and you got inspired by one of their projects that they had and you found a new way to tailor one of their projects, by all means, that's your take. But if you're just copying and pasting a project that a nonprofit has done, no, I don't think that would.
Yeah, that sounds like it's getting into a little bit of a gray area. I would encourage you to come talk to us in advising hours, set up an appointment with us. We can hash it out more and see if it's a good fit.
Good point.
I have a similar question. So I actually have a project that is that uses the idea or a technology that is invented by a group of UC Berkeley. But what if my innovation is totally like new on top of that technology, and I'm leading all the innovation or research or like commercializing, responsible for the commercializing part of that technology, or like it's like a new product, but we kind of use that specific technology from the school group. So I'm not sure if that's eligible.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it would be eligible. So if you are taking a twist on an existing technology and you're deploying it or using it in a different context, in a different way, in a new geography, that is innovation. That you're tailoring it to a new context. So it sounds like in that particular case, it would be eligible for Big Ideas. That is innovative.
Yeah, and as Philip mentioned before, if you have any questions around whether your idea is eligible or anything like that, come talk to us. If you heard something and you were like, oh, I'm not sure if I qualify, we still would really like to hear from you, because I think that more often than not, your project will be eligible.
We did get one question online, and that is,
Oh.
what are our favorite big ideas?
What are our favorite big ideas? Oh gosh. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you about my favorite big idea and also do a plug for our Innovators at Cal event. So, Innovators at Cal, as I mentioned, we have student pitches, but we also have keynote speakers. And our keynote speakers this year are Nikhil and Alex, who are the founders of Back to the Roots. Have anyone heard of Back to the Roots? Awesome. They are Cal alumni. They are previous Big Ideas winners, and they got a really cool idea in one of their classes where they found out you can actually grow edible mushrooms from coffee grounds, and they started a company that's now focused on kind of urban agriculture and gardening. So I myself have a mushroom little fixture at my house. I have their canned herb gardens, and they've grown to the point that they partnered with Aisha Curry, who's Steph Curry from The Warrior's wife, and she's really focused on nutrition. And they've been partnering with a lot of public schools to help create better food options. So I think that's a pretty cool idea. What about you, Philip?
So I like to always talk about the range of ideas that we see in Big Ideas and highlight two examples that stick out in my mind. One is a student who was, I think she was in the journalism school, and she wanted to do a book on how urbanization, or a research paper on how urbanization was affecting animals in India. And so she went to India and she actually tracked cows moving through the city. And she spent an entire summer doing this, documented it, came up with a research paper that turned into a series of articles. So that was one. But we also have something like the We Care solar suitcase. I think there's a picture on the wall here. And this was a woman who was getting her PhD in public health. She was already a practicing OBGYN. She went off to Nigeria to a rural clinic where she was helping women give birth, but the lights would go out because they had intermittent electricity. They couldn't call out doctors because they didn't have communications equipment. She came back home, and her husband and her, who was a solar technologist, built the solar suitcase, which is now, it can power an entire operating theater. It can hold communications equipment. You can take it anywhere in the world. It's been deployed in 18 countries, saved countless newborns and mothers. It's been funded by Gates Foundation, MacArthur Foundation. She won the CNN Hero Award. So, everything from that type of, biomedical innovation to these students who are working following cows around India. You get it.
Yeah, and also just to quickly note, in the pre-proposal, you don't have to have a prototype. You can actually just describe the innovation. As I mentioned, it's only 3 pages, not including references. So you don't have a lot of real estate, but that also means that we're not requiring you to have a fully fledged prototype. The projects, the big ideas that Philip and I both mentioned, were in much, much earlier stages. So we're just talking about them in their later stages, years after Big Ideas. And we got one more question over here.
Do we have to know how much it will cost to build our product, like approximately?
So if you have a product, how much it will cost. In the pre-proposal stage, you don't have to include a budget. That's not required. In the second portion of the contest, we will ask you to create a budget, and we'll put a limit on that as well. But if you do have questions on how you want to frame that, let's actually talk one-on-one, just so I can better understand what your question is.
Any other questions?
Oh, in the back. Sorry, we just want to make sure that all of our attendees that are live streaming can hear your amazing question as well.
Is there a way to access old proposals, just round one, so we could just get a sense of what the other proposals are, how they sound?
What a wonderful question. And the answer is yes, of course. So if you go on the website, bigideascontest.org, we have a tab that says resources. And if you click on that tab and scroll down, you'll actually see not 1, not 2, but 3 examples of pre-proposals. And then when we get into the second stage of the competition, we take down the pre-proposal stage and we show some examples of full proposals. And so these are ideas that we've had in previous years, and we've taken out any personal identifiers, but the content is what they use to apply to the Big Ideas contest.
And you can also go on the website, click on past winners, and get sort of short bios on every single winning project from Big Ideas. All of last year's projects, or most, have videos where they pitch their projects as well.
Yeah, the contest has been around since 2006, so you can imagine we've got quite a few winners, and the diversity is incredible. So if you have the time, click away. Yes.
So a quick question about IP. When we do get our funding from Big Ideas, how does that work exactly? So let's say that like we develop some software or something like that, and part of it was like using funding from Big Ideas. How would the IP work out?
So that's a really great question, something we probably should have mentioned, which is the Big Ideas Award is an award. It's a student prize for the development of the idea. It's not a grant. There's not implementation marks, benchmarks, things like that. And so it doesn't impact your IP at all, because we're rewarding you for developing this really compelling proposal over the last 8 months, not what you're going to be doing going forward. So there's no IP that we would infringe upon or that we would take from you, but at the same time, there is the caution that if you're already working with if you're a graduate student working with an advisor, if you're using lab space on campus, there could be campus IP issues that you have to work out. But from Big Ideas perspective, none.
Yeah, and I think that just adds on to our big emphasis on early stage. So we want to invest in you guys so you guys can best invest those resources into your project. We have another question all the way in the back. Gonna make you run. No, but you don't have to run.
Does a proposal have to be in a written format, or can it be in any creative format, like a video, for example?
So for the pre-proposal, yes, we do require a 3-page written pre-proposal. The format, though, like I said, it could be very flexible. I'm not that creative, but I know all of you are. So the way you want to structure that, by all means, come and talk to us about what ideas you have. In the second round, there is an opportunity along with your written proposal. There's a requirement to submit a short video that kind of goes into your idea in about 90 seconds.
But you are allowed to be creative with the draft of your proposal as well. So if you want to include more images and less text, if you think that conveys your idea, you just have to make sure you're getting across those elements. A video probably wouldn't work, but you can use images.
Yes, and then we have one more question in the back.
I was wondering, is the information, the due date for the proposal and the guidelines for the proposal, can those be found on your website?
Absolutely. Really good question. All of the information, including the pre-proposal deadline, which I'm just going to repeat again, is November 20th. All of that information and more can be found on the website. In addition, the brochures that we have at the front of the desk that I also sent to you, that has a very concise way of saying everything that I just mentioned. But the website is a really great resource, and we spent a lot of time trying to chock it full of great advice, great resources, and opportunities to connect with us. So, yeah.
One more question online. How can you or how will you ensure the confidentiality of my idea?
Oh, that is a great question. So on the application, when you upload it, you have an opportunity to say that you do not want to share your big idea, and that means that only the reviewers and the Big Ideas staff will review your proposal. It will not be shared with the broader community, and if there was any interest from anyone to do so, we would obviously check with you, and the reviewers themselves also agree to that when they join the contest.
The only thing that we would make public is you have to upload, I think it's a 150-word summary of your project.
Yes.
So whatever is confidential about your project, don't put in that 150-word summary, attach it in your longer proposal. We'll keep the rest confidential.
Yeah.
Lots of questions, I like it.
A small question about team sizes. I saw on the website that there are like team size between 3 and like 10 people. Does that vary a lot in general? And what is like the
Yeah, the team size does vary, especially during the point of the competition. So I'd say last year we had quite a few people come, and they were their only team member. So that was only one person, but they came to another information session. They came to Innovators at Cal, and they met with the Big Ideas. And we like to play the role of matchmaker to actually help match people that have the skills you're looking for. And so we did that quite a few times last year. So by the end of the competition, a team went from 1 all the way up to 4. But like I said, there's no limit. So the team sizes really depend on what you think it would be the best team size.
Yeah, we've had projects that have been huge student groups, like Engineers Without Borders have applied, 50 students on a team. We've had students that are 1, person per proposal. The question the reviewers will be asking is, do you have the people in place to implement the project if we give you funding? So if it's a technology and it has a global health focus, do you have somebody who can build the technology, think about the health impacts, do you have somebody who can market this and do communications and outreach? So it's up to you to begin to fill that in. That's where we're going to push you over the course of the next 8 months, is to think through those roles. You don't have to have them all in place at this point, but hopefully you're building towards that, or you have a timeline for doing that.
Yeah, so any last questions? Yes, hold on one second.
So the project can be like applied to like global wide or country-wide or city-wide, like how, like what's the limitation?
No limitation.
So it can be like a specific place, is it also okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
So as Matt talked about with Kaloum Bankhi, they were addressing a specific community need in the country of Guinea within a particular community. As long as you demonstrate that you have chosen that location because you have the expertise and skills to really address the problem in that community, it can be local, statewide, national, international. Big Ideas have addressed all of those different areas.
And I think that can always be a strength, starting local, but showing sort of a vision about how, if you can have this proof of concept, this pilot work here, it can be replicated in other locations potentially. That's always a good place to start. Sometimes starting out too big of a vision, that long-term viability aspect in the proposal can be weakened because you're biting off more than you can chew. So I always advise students to get your proof of concept down, show viability, and build out.
Oh, you guys have been so wonderful. So really quickly, raise your hand if you have an idea and you are looking for teammates. Okay, now raise your hand if you've got skills, which I know you all have, and you're potentially looking to team up with somebody that has a team. Okay, I see someone in the back. I'm seeing quite a few people. I'm seeing people raising their hands for both. So you guys can now use this time to introduce each other, and I would say this is a really safe, inclusive environment for you guys to start talking about your ideas and brainstorming. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. Ladies, everyone.